Hello everyone, I welcome you all to StudyIQ. My name is Prashant Dhawan, and in this video we shall talk about a very important topic. This topic was in the news a lot recently. Is North Korea willing to give up its nuclear weapons? Are we heading towards a denuclearized Korean peninsula? So a lot to know, a lot to discuss. But before we start our discussion, if you are a new viewer, then I would like to tell you guys about StudyIQ's pen drive and tablet courses that give you the luxury of studying from home. Our courses are available for all these exams: SSC, RVA, Grade B, UPSC. So visit StudyIQ.com or call these numbers and order StudyIQ's pen drive and tablet courses. Now, in order to know why a denuclearized Korean peninsula is so important, we need to understand where the Korean peninsula is located to begin with. So as you can see, this is our planet Earth and this is our country India. India, of course, is part of South Asia, alright? And you will find both the Korean countries, North Korea and South Korea, in East Asia. You can see these countries right here: Japan, China, North Korea, South Korea. These countries are part of East Asia, Taiwan as well. So as you can see over here, this is North Korea. Near North Korea is the Yellow Sea, and over here this part, this is called the Sea of Japan. Usually it is called the Sea of Japan by Japan and the rest of the world, but for the Korean Peninsula countries, North and South Korea and China, this area is the East Sea. They don't really call it the Sea of Japan for political reasons. So anyway, since North Korea is so much in the news recently, you should also know that what is the highest peak of the Korean Peninsula. This has been asked in various exams in the past, and there is a good chance it will be asked in the future as well. So as you can see, this is Pekatu mountain right here. This is the highest point of not just North Korea but of the entire Korean peninsula that consists of South and North Korea. On top of this Pekatu mountain, you will also find the Heavens Lake, and if you are wondering, is this a volcano, then yes, it is an active volcano and it can erupt pretty much any moment. It hasn't yet, but it can erupt perhaps a year later or 50 years later. We don't really know. Either way, just remember where it is located. So recently, Kim Jong-un, the supreme leader of North Korea, was in Beijing for his first state visit to any country since he became the supreme leader of North Korea back in 2011. And when he was in Beijing, he made a remarkable statement. He said that he is committed to Korean denuclearization. Of course, this statement made waves around the world. World leaders reacted to this. Even the chief of UN, the United Nations chief, Antonio Guterres, reacted to this, and he said that he welcomes the denuclearization of North Korea. He would welcome it if it indeed happens, and if it happens, it will be a great step forward for world peace. So Kim Jong-un said something positive. The chief of United Nations applauded his statement. It's easy to get carried away with positive feelings when such a development takes place, but we need to stay very close to reality as well, because there are different views on denuclearization when it comes to US and North Korea. Both the countries have a different view of denuclearization. Well, look, North Korea has for a very long time said that it is open to eventually giving up its nuclear arsenal if, now there is a big if here, if the United Nations withdraws its troops from South Korea and ends its nuclear umbrella security alliance with South Korea, among other countries as well. Now, as most of you probably know, there is a nuclear umbrella pact between South Korea, US and Japan. So suppose if any country attacks Japan or South Korea with a nuclear weapon, then USA will protect these two countries, and it will actually attack the country that has attacked South Korea or Japan. So North Korea has simply stated that US should remove all of its troops that are stationed in South Korea, make sure there is no nuclear umbrella clause, and we will rightfully give up our nuclear arsenal. Now the reason why North Korea has such a stance, because it is almost impossible for USA to move all of its troops away from South Korea and just give up its nuclear umbrella pact with South Korea and Japan. Why? Because look, in order to contain China, of course, India is a very important part of the grand US strategy to contain China. But the main advantage that USA has over China is the fact that USA has large military presence in both Japan and South Korea. And as I showed you in the map a few minutes ago, both the countries are very close to China, and not just China, they are very close to important cities of China like Shanghai, Beijing. So in the future it will be quite easy for USA to actually attack some very important cities of China if they want to do that. So it will be a geopolitical disaster for USA if it ever decides to leave South Korea and the nuclear umbrella pact with Japan and South Korea. North Korea is aware of this. That is why they have put forward this condition, because they know it will never be realized, and North Korea will always get to keep its nuclear arsenal. Now USA meanwhile has insisted on complete, verifiable and irreversible dismantling of North Korea's nuclear weapons and facilities needed to build those weapons as soon as possible. So USA demands that, alright, we will not move our troops from South Korea first. First, North Korea has to dismantle its nuclear weapons and destroy all of its capabilities to produce nuclear missiles or warheads. Only then we will talk about moving away our troops from South Korea or removing the nuclear umbrella from Japan and South Korea. So clearly you can see that there is a deadlock over here. And when we talk about the word denuclearization, what does it basically mean to begin with? Look, when a country nuclearizes itself, it means now it has the capability of attacking another country with a nuclear weapon. When it is denuclearized, it either means that that country is now giving up its nuclear technology and will not be able to develop nuclear weapons in the future, or its nuclear weapons, its nuclear technology has been forcefully taken away from it. Alright, so there are different versions of denuclearization. Which one is Kim Jong-un talking about? It's still not very clear. So since a complete denuclearization is probably off the cards, what can we expect from Kim Jong-un's proposal of denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula? Well, most likely North Korea will agree to freeze its weapons and missile tests and possibly cap its nuclear weapons program in return for sanctions, removal all the sanctions that have been imposed on North Korea. They would probably want those sanctions lifted, and they would also want reduction or freezing of joint US-South Korea military drills. Now usually North Korea becomes a very aggressive country whenever US and South Korea are conducting military drills. So it's very important for us to understand that North Korea would want these military drills to stop, because it believes that these military drills are directly aimed towards it. So this is the kind of deal that we might see. North Korea will probably not give up its nuclear program altogether, but it might cease conducting military weapon tests or nuclear tests that create havoc and create uncertainty in the entire region. Now, since we are talking about a denuclearized North Korea, we also need to understand that this is not the first time when North Korean leadership is talking about denuclearization option. The last two times North Korea said it was going to give up its nuclear weapons, it was lying. In 1994 and in 2002, North Korea talked about giving up its nuclear arsenal, but it just didn't really do that. In 1994, when US President Bill Clinton was in power, North Korea signed a deal known as Agreed Framework with USA. Under the terms, Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, committed to freeze its illicit plutonium weapons program in exchange for US construction of light water nuclear reactors, heavy fuel, and formal assurances against the threat or use of nuclear weapons. USA agreed to all of it, and it also started building a nuclear reactor in North Korea for the people of North Korea, but later on North Korea refused to work in the agreed framework, and they removed all the American construction workers that were working in North Korea, and thus the agreed framework was broken. After that, in 2005, talks started again. This time around a group was created. The 6-party talks were initiated between 6 countries: China, Japan, North Korea, Russia, South Korea, and of course the United States of America. This whole discussion was initiated by China, and all the countries tried their best to reassure North Korea that even if its nuclear weapons are taken away from it, or it just gives up its nuclear technology, it will still remain a very important country and it will not be attacked, and all these countries will make sure that there is peace between South Korea, US and North Korea. So even China and Russia were willing to give assurances to North Korea for it, but North Korea again did not agree, and it continued to develop its nuclear weapons. So obviously North Korea is not new to promising such things, and we cannot really be sure that this time around when Kim Jong-un said that he will denuclearize North Korea, he was very serious. Well, look, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un recently traveled by train to Beijing. This was his first foreign trip after assuming power in 2011. So one indication is that perhaps he is opening up. He recently allowed North Korean athletes to participate in the Winter Olympics in Seoul, and he has also agreed to let North Korean athletes participate in the Summer Olympics in Japan. So since he is opening up, perhaps this time around he is quite serious about it, and he has also asked China to be an important part of the talks between North Korea and US for the denuclearization process. So perhaps due to these reasons, we can take North Korea's claim seriously. Other than that, look, Kim Jong-un is also fighting for the fundamental survival of his regime, because there is a large medical supply shortage, food shortage in North Korea, primarily because of the sanctions imposed by US and poor economic policies by the North Korean government. So because of all these issues, there is also a possibility of a revolution brewing up in North Korea, and that revolution could wipe off Kim Jong-un's regime. So in order to make sure that this does not happen, Kim Jong-un would probably want to mend fences with US and the Western nations and make sure that its country gets some share of world trade, and North Korea too can somehow catch up with South Korea, because right now the GDP per capita of North Korea is estimated at around 1,000 US dollars. That is 1/28th of South Korea. So there is a huge disparity between North Korea and South Korea, and of course Kim Jong-un is well aware of that, and he will definitely want to make sure that his regime survives. Now, what is India's stand in all of this? India has very much welcomed the prospects of US-North Korea talks. India also believes that Pakistan has developed its missile program aimed at India with the help of North Korea, in return for sensitive nuclear technology that Pakistani scientist A.Q. Khan stole from the Western European country of Netherlands. So there is a huge collision between North Korea and Pakistan, and both the countries, both the rogue nations, have been supporting each other, and India believes that this can be showed to the world if North Korea lets the inspectors from UN or other agencies to investigate their nuclear plants. If that happens, of course, a lot of pressure can be mounted on Pakistan at the United Nations, and New Delhi has been insisting that international community probe what it calls backward linkages of North Korea's missile and nuclear programs to Pakistan. Other than that, if North Korea and USA manage to strike a deal and there is peace in the Korean Peninsula, then obviously North Korea will open its doors to globalization, and India can improve its trade with North Korea as well. North Korea will probably develop very rapidly because of its strategic importance, its strategic position, and since it's still a very fresh economy that has been not touched by all the multinational corporations, India would probably want its companies to have some stake in the North Korean market if that indeed happens one day. So right now North Korea's trade partners are in front of you. After China, India is the second largest export partner for North Korea, and if we talk about imports, then even here India is the second largest partner for North Korea after China. So there is huge potential of trade between India and North Korea in the near future. So this is the end of our video. Thanks for watching. God bless you all.